Hey, you guys, I'm Venus Monique from the hit crime drama Vindication, and you guys should definitely make sure you're catching the Maurice Brown Show on Roku TV.
Yeah! Welcome, everybody, to the Maurice Brown Show. We have a very special guest on our show today. I had an opportunity to become familiar with this gentleman at the most recent International Christian Film Festival in Orlando, Florida. Some of the best faith-based talent and films you'll ever see. This gentleman has been in the film County Line, All In, which came out in 2022, Love Carol in 2021, and Club Monologue. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor Travis Smothers. What's up, Travis? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I am doing great, man. I'm doing great. You know, we're coming out of a pandemic, Travis. We're not 100% out yet, but we're getting there. We're emerging from it, and you know, it has really affected the film industry with the COVID-19 protocols. You got to be either fully vaccinated or you have to take one of those COVID-19 tests right there on site. All that stuff has been going on, which has made it kind of, you know, creepy, but we're getting used to that. Do you think the face of acting, Travis, has changed for the better?
I don't know if it's changed for the better. I know the opportunities have opened up quite a bit, just with the ability, you know, self-tape auditioning. It's opened up, especially where I live. I live in a rural area, and so being able to audition, you know, virtually has opened up so many doors.
So Ricky Borba says, fantastic actor, and Ricky's a good guy. He's worked with a lot of really good actors, and Ricky, thanks for the also a great fan installer you mentioned as well, Ricky. So thanks for the update on that, dude. But Travis, no, I think it makes it interesting when you have to make these adjustments, because when you go off the grid, oftentimes you've had a chance to think about your craft. How can I be better at my craft? You network more, you meet more people than you probably would have had you not had to go through that situation. I wouldn't have this platform if it weren't for the pandemic. I mean, I'm a stand-up comic, and I've always wanted to do it. Didn't have time. You know, you go in here, you go in there, and do all this stuff. So I think it's actually made things better. You can audition for films in another country. And I've met comedians from the Middle East and Italy and all that stuff just because of the virtual platform. So I think it has made things a little bit more interesting, even though we don't like the process of what's going on. Now, I mentioned that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Travis.
Sorry about that. I also think it's, you know, you're talking about being able to meet people virtually, and I think it really makes the in-person meetings that you have that more meaningful too, because you're meeting so many people just in a square box, and actually meeting them in person, it's kind of sticks out in your brain a little bit more.
It does, you know, it really does, and I think that, you know, once you do meet someone in person, you know, the formalities of meeting someone new is eliminated. Because you kind of really got a chance to know, you know, the person through the, like you said, the square box. But it's awesome though, man, because again, you know, you could talk with people all over the world, and you could do shows like this, and that you never would have had the opportunity to do. As a stand-up comic doing comedy online, I don't like that too much because it's delays laughter. There's a delay. It can throw your rhythm off. Sometimes you can't even see the person on the other side, you know? So it's like 300 people are watching. You can't see anybody. And so that's kind of weird. However, it's all good. And I think that it has made things better. Now, you're in the film, as I was alluding to a little bit earlier, County Line, All In, and you did that. That came out this year in 2022. Tell us a little bit about that film.
It's a murder mystery film. It's directed by Brent Christie. It's got Tom Mopat, Denham Richards from Yellowstone. I play a character, Garrett Barlow. He's not a great guy, but he's also a historical war reenactor.
Okay.
He gets basically murdered at the beginning of the film, and the rest of the film is the mystery on who killed Garrett Bartlow. So
now you mentioned Tom Wopat. A lot of people may or may not know Tom Wopat is from the Dukes of Hazzard, correct?
Correct. It was, I used to watch that when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So actually getting to meet him in person, and that was pretty cool. So,
man, I love that show, man. The Dukes, that was one of the funniest shows I think I've ever seen, dude. But Tom Wopat from the Dukes of Hazzard, and I think what was his partner's name in real life? Bo Schneider, I believe.
John Schneider.
John Schneider, that's it.
Yep.
Bo was his name on the show. But no, Luke, and what's really cool about those guys, I didn't know this about Tom Wopat. I know that Luke Schneider is a born-again Christian, and he does a lot of faith-based films. Is that the same with Tom Wopat?
I don't know that he does faith-based. I do know because we talked about faith on set. So I do know, that aspect of him, but I don't know honestly enough about his career to say what he does outside of that. So.
Yeah. But anyway, it's good. I like those guys a lot. I haven't seen Tom Wopat in anything much. I see Luke a lot. I've seen Tom Wopat in a few things here and there. Definitely a good actor, no question about it. Well, glad to know that he's a part of the film. And as I mentioned, faith-based and Christian acting. I want to ask you, as far as the faith-based world goes when it comes to films. What is your perspective as a faith-based actor, Travis, in the entertainment world?
My perspective of it is, I think it's catching on more now than it probably ever has.
Okay.
I think the realism of the scripts, the audiences that it's being, projected to, I think that's growing, and I think that's a great thing, because I think in the past it's been pretty much, pardon the pun, but preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
It's if the message is going to get out, it needs to get out to people who don't already know the message for it to make the most impact. So it's kind of exciting being on, this side of it, watching it as it grows, like it is.
And I agree with you. I think you have to think about who your target audience is. And if you're going to present that to them, you have to be authentic. You have to be honest. And sometimes being honest may not be the most Christian thing in the world. But then again, that's how we got saved. Because we weren't very nice people. We weren't doing very nice things. Our language certainly wasn't all, it should have been. It'd be pretty profane stuff. And I'm not saying you have to go to the extreme in presenting that, but you're going to have to take some liberties with presenting reality. And I think that faith-based films have been reluctant to go there because of the perception of, faith-based. And I think we're going to have to get over that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, faith does not mean it's not real life. Real life is not always warm and fuzzy. There's struggle that goes along with real life, and I think with that being incorporated into the message, I think that'll resonate with more people.
I think that's what people are looking for, and I think that when you look at, for example, how do you as an actor approach a role? And I know that you may have an opportunity to do a film where there may be some profanity used or what have you. How do you approach a role or determine whether or not you're going to take a certain kind of role?
Number one, I look at it and see if it's going to go against my morals, my religious beliefs.
Yeah.
I have children. I want to make sure that they're going to be able to watch it and see their dad on screen and not be hiding behind the couch in shame.
Yeah.
I've actually turned down roles, substantial ones, just based off of that. So
yeah. It's interesting you say that, Travis, because, dude, you got to think about your family, and then you got to do your research and think about, okay, what is the end game here? Where are they going? Because if they're going to a good place, and it is particularly if it's going to get somebody saved, hey, why not? I mean, you got to think about the end game. But you got to, consider how far you're willing to go in getting that done. I won a role for a film a few years ago and didn't read the script. my wife got the script and she was so excited and she just went straight to my line. Hey, this is your line, and your lines, I was doing a speech at a police banquet. So, how harmful could that be? But dude, I got to the table read and there were 2 scenes in that film that were just straight up pornographic. And I went, oh my gosh, what am I doing? How did I get here? And thank God the film folded. Project folded because I signed off to do the film. But I was thinking about the red carpet event. How could I bring my kids to the red carpet for this?
Yep.
And not to mention, like you said, if it's it makes it to a platform or what have you, and your kids see you in that, associated with that, it's bad. And so you got to do your research, Travis. You got to think about this stuff. And as a Christian actor, faith-based entertainer, it's like just be thorough in your examination of the project before you sign off.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to move more towards the lack of a better word, the bad guy roles. But in every good story, there is a bad part of it. And as long as it's integral to the story and it doesn't cross certain boundaries, then, that's like you said, you got to look at what the outcome is going to be. Is it worth portraying something like that? So
you have to look at that. And again, I have, faith-based acting friends that will get in a secular film for the purpose of witnessing to guys and gals on set, just how you approach your work, what is the end game of the whole thing, and they take some liberties. So, I think that's what we have to be willing to do more of in our business. If we're going to get the word of Christ out, we're going to have to get rid of the holier than thou attitude and let yourself get a little dirty from time to time, if it's going to benefit for the greater good. Do you think? Absolutely. Do you think faith-based films are starting to get more attention, Travis, from the secular world?
I do. And oddly enough, it's starting to get, in my opinion, it's starting to get more attention from people that I never even thought would be interested in that.
Yeah.
Just in my personal life. I think people are just tired of the doom and gloom. They want to know that there, is a purpose. There is, there is still good in the world. There's still good in entertainment. Yeah. I think we as people can only take so much bad news. We have to eventually have to turn to something good.
That's right. You can only take but so much negativity, Travis. For real, man. And the society that we're living in right now, I think there's tons of negativity out there. We got a situation going on in Dallas right now where there were shots fired at an airport, at the Dallas airport. This narrative is becoming way too consistent in our society today. Not to mention the COVID-19 and all that. You got this all monkeypox thing going on and this and that. And so people want to have a way, an outlet to just be positive and to be able to laugh and have some joy, because there's too much darkness to go around. There's no doubt about that. Are there some things, though, and you kind of touched on it already, Travis, but I'd like to throw the question out anyway. Are there some things in the faith-based world of entertainment, filmmaking, that you personally would like to see improved?
I would definitely like to see more scripts going towards everyday life instead of trying to make everything seem new and shiny and unicorns and rainbows. It's that is not real life.
No.
We have to get more realistic in the types of stories that are being told, and showing the reasons for the good outcomes, showing the reasons for the bad results. Make it more realistic.
I have a directing friend by the name. I don't know if you're familiar with Melissa Goad or not. Have you ever met Melissa?
I have not, but I have heard her name quite a few times.
So she had a film at the ICFF, They Don't Cast Shadows. and it's a Christian horror film,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you see that, you go, Christian horror, how do you get a, well, it's not very difficult when you think about the fact that there are demons in the Bible. And they're from cover to cover, you'll find a demon or two. So, I mean, it's not a stretch to go there, but I think that we are in a mamby-pamby mentality or headspace when we do faith-based films, and we got to get away from that, and we got to tell the truth, and we got to get down to the down and dirty sometimes, because let's be realistic. The warfare that's going on in the spiritual realm that we are not privy to see is more violent than what we see. Like the fight between angels and demons is violent. Like they're going at it, Travis. Okay, they are going at it, dude. I mean, you talking about throwing down, and the angels are doing it on our behalf. You know, as we go to our prayers, and, you know, we try to move the way God wants us to move. You know, there's an enemy out there trying to block all of that stuff. So it's not pretty in the spiritual realm. I think in the Bible it says the violent take it by force. You know, and I don't want to misquote the Bible, but something along those lines. So I like what you said. You know, I just think we have to take more chances at presenting reality, and it's not always going to look, you know, good. I'll say this, I'll throw this out. I hope I'm not, people won't take this the wrong way. And I'm not even advocating for what I'm about to say, but I'm just throwing it out as an example. If I'm telling the truth about something and there happens to be one F-bomb thrown, I'm just giving a hypothetical example. I'm not advocating for that. But if I'm in a film and I'm trying to talk about reality that leads to salvation and there's an F-bomb somewhere involved there, what's the big deal? We've heard it before. We hear it every day, as a matter of fact, in some of our workspaces, depending on what you do for a living. Don't act like you've never heard that before. Yeah. You're not going to fold up and die because you heard that word. We're trying to make a point here. We're trying to teach truth. And I think people that are lost, they need to hear truth and not this watered down version of truth, because that doesn't get people saved. I mean, it really doesn't, Travis.
Right. And I mean, people need to remember, just because we're Christians doesn't mean we're perfect. If we're trying to get a point across, we're going to do it in imperfect ways at times. So
that's
I mean,
right.
If things like that happen, that's what, you know, forgiveness is for. That's what our prayers are for. That's what, you know, that being a Christian is an ongoing process. Putting that message out there is the same way.
It's the same way. And I just wish we could be, and here's the deal. This is what turns off the secular world, because we come off as if we are perfect, and they know we're not perfect. Hey, Travis, they know we're not perfect. So to try to sell, you know,
my mom did say I was perfect. So yeah.
Okay, well, we got to give Mom, you know, a check mark for that one. We're not going to argue with Mom, but Travis, I just think that that's where the secular world is when they see our projects. They're like, that's not reality, and I'm not buying it.
Right.
You know, I'm not buying it, and I just think that we need to get to that point. I think we're getting close, though, and as I see all this stuff, I think we're starting to get close to that. I think we're starting as filmmakers to realize that we're going to have to stick our hands in there a little bit deeper into the mud and the dirt and the muck and the mire. If we want people to take us seriously, if we want them to really hear our message, and I think that we are starting to get there. You know, I think that, you know, I'll throw out some names like the Kendrick brothers and the Irwin brothers, great filmmakers.
Right.
I mean, dude, I love everything that they've done. And they can make a $10 million film look like an $80 million film. They're tremendous, and they're filmmakers that I can see them kind of gravitating to being more real, and I think secular audiences, they know who they are, and they're starting to come out and see their films. And as I say all of that, How did you get your start in acting in the first place, Travis? Not seeing that, being as that your mom feels that you're perfect. I know there's got to be a great story behind that.
It was complete blind luck, man.
Okay.
I was military before this, and then I was in the medical field working as a nurse. Had just moved my family into a new house, was trying to do my midlife crisis thing, I guess. But a friend of mine I had not seen since high school, other than over Facebook, posted that they needed, just background people for a film that was being filmed not too far from me.
Okay.
I'm never one to say no to something new. So I've never been background before. Let me go try this. I did it. I fell in love with everything I saw, the workings behind the scene, just how the sausage was made. I just decided this is where I need to be. So I started taking acting classes, auditioning, got an agent, and I kind of feel like Forrest Gump sometimes, just right place, right time. It's incredibly weird. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have never thought I'd be doing this.
Wow. That's quite amazing. That's quite amazing. As we were talking about earlier with the budgeting of these films on the faith-based side, do you think, and you've been around actors a lot. I mean, you've been around some household name actors, and you've been around for a while. As far as the faith-based world goes, do you think in the near future, because the problem is the budgeting, that one of the major problems is the lack of budgeting, right, availability for a lot of films. Do you see an improvement coming in that regard in the near future?
I do, but that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. I think as the scripts and the stories start reaching out to a broader audience, I think once that demand becomes more mainstream, I think that's when the money will start increasing the size of the scope.
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal too. I don't want to get up my soapbox too much, but I'm going to throw out another thought too. I think that when you look at all of these mega churches out here, we got a ton of mega churches in America.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't understand the failure of the partnering between them and filmmakers. You know what I mean? It's like and maybe this has never dawned on them, but I'm going, why wouldn't a major church, I mean a major league church, just say, hey, why don't we help out the Kendrick brothers? Why don't we throw a couple of mil at those guys? Why don't we throw a couple of mil at the Erwin brothers, or a young director that just needs help, period? And I think the financial resources in Christendom are way more available than we may realize.
I have asked that same question, and I wish I had an intelligent sounding answer to that. I really don't know why that has not happened.
And the thing about it is, it's a query for all of us. I think the problem is that, I don't want to get too much of my soapbox, but I got to say this, Travis. I think the problem is with a lot of these big churches, and by the way, there's some really good ones. Mm-hmm. I mean, legit from beginning to end, awesome. But I do believe a lot of these churches are in it for the money. They're in it for the money, dude. And some of them have charter jets along with their stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get the idea that you're presenting as to why you have one, but do you really need one? And if you have one, that means you have resources to help more than what you're actually doing. And I just look at the film world and I'm like, look at the film Endgame by Marvel. That probably cost $1 billion, that film. And it's awesome. I love the Marvel universe, dude. I love it. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of the Christian world has that kind of bread too.
Yeah. Yep.
Believe me, the Christian world's got that kind of bread. And we got all these great Christian faith-based filmmakers sitting out there just struggling. And no one from any of these big churches have, decided I'm going to step in and I'm going to help these guys. So anyway, I'm done. I'm going to get off my soapbox, Travis. But I just had to throw that out.
Well, I do want to touch on that because I didn't want to say anything, but since you opened it up, I'll jump on that soapbox with you.
Okay.
I think a lot of times, like you said, there are some very, very good mega churches, and like you said, I also think that some of them are strictly in it for the money.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Getting behind a film project like that would almost be like taking a stand, and it's not not exactly this, but this is just how I process it in my head. They're not going to take that stand because they might lose the Instagram followers or whatever. And
sure.
I mean, so I think that's a big proponent of it. I think taking a stand these days is a lot more difficult than people want to, admit or confront or whatever. And I think for them to put money behind a project, it would be the equivalent of them taking a stand behind something.
There's no question about it. And I think that when you look at our society today, you're right. It is a lot harder to take a stand now than it has been in the recent past. In America, it's like you got the cancel culture. People will cancel you in a second.
Yep.
Because you took a particular position. People will stand out in front of your business. They'll stand out in front of your show and picket you because they don't agree with something you said or something you agree with or you stand for. There was a church in Austin, Texas that opened up, and there were picketers outside their church that said, we don't want Christians around here. So, it's difficult in this society to stand up and take a stand. But guess what? That's part of our faith.
Exactly.
Christ said that you're going to have haters, quote unquote. You're going to have haters, and they're going to come for your neck. So don't be surprised, but also know I'm with you. I'm with you. And the thing is, that's coming too. I'm going to throw that out too. I think that kind of persecution is coming. And I think we better be prayed up and get ready for that, because it's been a pretty clean walk up to this point in America.
Yeah.
The Christian, it's been a pretty clean walk. But you read the Bible, dude, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. So I agree with you. That's a great point, Travis. We have to be willing to stand up and say the right thing when it's needed, do the right thing when it's needed, and not worry about the aftermath of it. You did, you told truth. Just being truthful is offensive. You didn't intend to offend anybody. You just told the truth, and all of a sudden, you're a bad guy. So great point. I couldn't agree with you more on that, Travis. That being said, all of that being said, thanks for getting on the soapbox with me, Travis. I appreciate that.
My pleasure, man.
Do you have any memorable stories? Because like I said, you know a lot of household names, man. You've been around some pretty top-notch actors. Do you have any memorable stories that you could share with us?
Well, I mean, I've done stand-in work for some really, really big people. Meeting one of those was both momentous and kind of, not so. I don't know. They say be careful who your heroes are, and I kind of got one of those in both things. I don't want to say who the actor was, but
okay.
As far as the best experience I've had on set, I'm involved with a group called Inspired Actors. We got together recently, and we made our own little short film.
Okay.
We've been taking classes together. It was just, for all of us to come from across the country, meet, converge in one area, get together in fellowship, put together a nice short film, just meeting all these same people, like-minded people. And that was probably my best experience personally on set so far.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, that was a very tame story, Travis. That's a good story. I mean, sometimes things can get kind of crazy out there, but that's good.
A family show.
That's very good, Travis. I like that. That's a good memory. No doubt about that. So let me ask you this. Acting is, of course, as you know, not easy. And I'm a stand-up comic and actor, but the comedy part, not easy. And you have to go through a lot of ups and downs and so forth. What's the biggest thing about acting that you've personally experienced as kind of like a benchmark event or a couple of events where it actually made you better at acting?
Don't be afraid to take a chance. Don't be afraid to get out there and do something that you think looks so incredibly stupid because it's so far outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
Once I figured out how to, I'm still figuring out how to do that. But once I became comfortable with getting out of that shell and getting out of that comfort zone and taking some risks, it just opens up your eyes to a lot of different, a lot of different avenues on how to approach different scenes, characters, whatever, what have you.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the same deal in comedy, where you just have to like take some chances and get outside of this kind of robotic, okay, this is what I wrote, so this is what I'm going to do. Sometimes you just need to step away from your routine and just kind of kick it with the audience for 5 or 10 unscripted minutes and see what happens. And that's called trust in the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, I'm still learning how to do that because it's scary. It's like, oh man, I'm going to get out here and, whoa, I don't know what's going to happen. But that's when the great things happen. When you say, Holy Ghost, take me to another level, and I'm willing to go wherever you want to take me. I don't know where you're taking me, but let's go. That stuff right there can make you great.
Yep.
But it's all about whether or not you're going to trust it, and I'm with you on that. I'm Travis, I'm with you on that. I'm still, trying to do that. I endeavor to do more of that on stage. And I think greatness is right around the corner when the more willing you are to do that and get outside of that shell or whatever, that comfort zone, if you will,
right.
and go for it. When it comes to nerves and butterflies before you perform, do you have a ritual or a process that you go through to kind of like stay calm and relaxed?
This is, I don't know. That one's kind of weird for me because, like I said, I was just my past career fields has kind of taught me how to shelve the nervousness and just do what you need to do. I spent a lot of years working in emergency rooms and as a combat medic and all this other stuff. So I kind of learned a long time ago how to compartmentalize the nervousness and the butterflies, and just go ahead and do things. Now what I'm trying to figure out is how to do that and go forward and do what I'm supposed to do, but still portray emotion, because in those other jobs, I had to do it from a strictly logical standpoint. And what I'm doing now is there's no logic to it whatsoever.
Yeah. It's interesting because everyone has a way of like dealing with that butterfly issue or situation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, and I love hearing the different ways that people man, there's so many methods that people have to stay calm. And I love hearing their stories. I have a comedy Fred that will just like get in this zone where you look at him and to stay away from him. Just stay away. Just stay away from this guy, right? Because he wants that space. And he's great at what he does, but that's what he uses to get into the zone he needs to get into. And everybody has a different style. And I love hearing how people compartmentalize because, getting on stage, getting in front of a camera, what have you. Like, speaking of stage, do you prefer stage or film?
I have actually never done anything on stage. I would like to.
Okay.
But so I would have to say film on that one. But yeah.
I heard a story once where a famous actor was talking about his experience in stage, and there was a show that he did where they actually had a bucket on the side of the stage there for any of the actors that needed the bucket, before they went out. I mean, it's a real thing, dude. The butterfly, we love doing what we do, but the exhilarating factor is always there, and it's sky high. People think that, we're just like calm, la-di-da, I'm just going to go out here and do it. No. You're geeked. You're 100% gassed up, and you have to have a way to kind of channel that where it needs to be, and that's, and you got to enjoy it.
There's nothing better than knowing you're doing exactly what you need to be doing in that exact moment. You get so deep into it, and then after it's done, then that's probably when I would run to this side of the stage and use the bucket. But in the moment and the lead up and everything, I'm great. It is usually after it's over, after that adrenaline kicks in afterwards, and that's the weird part for me is after everything is done. I don't get worked up before, but it's afterwards. That's
yeah. I have a similar feeling. Like when it's all over, for me, it's like you're sky high. 45 minutes or so afterwards, you're like really, really high, and then you just drop. For myself personally, I'm like done. I felt like I've run 10 miles. The pressure was so great.
Yep.
It was so tremendous. When you were in it, you don't realize it. How fast you're going. Like your adrenaline is like, man, it's gangbusters. But you're under control though. You have found a way to get all of that unbelievable energy under control. And then, once you have to let it go, it's over. Like you said, it's all over. And that thing is, released. It's like, oh, I'm so tired.
You just want to fall to the floor and just lay there.
oh, those are some of the best sleeps at night I've ever had too. Oh, man, because you have really given it everything. Yep. You've given it. So, but a lot of people can't understand that unless you've ever done that, man. But I like what you said. When it's all over, it's kind of a different deal. What advice, Travis, can you leave with young people out there that are thinking about diving into this industry?
The same advice I give my kids on just about any aspect of life. The hardest step is going to be the first one. Don't sit around and talk about, I want to do it. Get up, take the steps, go do it. If I can break into this industry from my little town in South Carolina in the middle of nowhere, anybody can do it.
You just have to do it. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing you have to conquer, because a lot of people say, I want to do this and I want to do this, but you got to get up there and you got to do it. You have to cross that barrier.
Right.
And that's oftentimes the most difficult thing about the whole process, because once you get over that, everything else is easier. Still challenging. Now, I'm not going to throw that away. But if you can get over the hump of will I or won't I, if you do it, that'll be the biggest obstacle you'll ever cross. It's like, I went to the other side.
Right.
Oh, I'm over here now, So, yeah, great advice, Travis. Great advice. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Maurice Brown Show with actor Travis Smothers. You can see him in the film County Line, All In, released this year. You can also see him in Love, Carol, and Club Monologue as well. Travis, how can fans follow you on social media or by website?
Fans. I think all three of them have my phone number, but no, I'm on Facebook. I haven't branched off into the other social media platforms or anything like that. But I'm pretty easy to get a hold of on Facebook. I'm not hiding away or anything like that. So
okay. You got fans, Travis. Believe me, man. People know who you are out there, bro. They got to see this video. Because we're also on podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, all over the place, which I'll announce a little bit, a few moments. But no, man, you are a star, man. People, they want to know more about Travis Smothers. Believe me, you have followers, you have fans out there. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have enjoyed my conversation on the Maurice Brown Show with actor Travis Smothers, hey, like it and share it and subscribe to the Maurice Brown Comedy Channel, as well as any social media engine that Travis Smothers is a part of. And if you came in at the very end and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed the interview, it's okay. Not only can you see it in its entirety on Facebook or YouTube, you can also go to the Creative Motion Network on Roku TV and you can watch it there tomorrow. It'll be released about midday tomorrow on Roku TV. We're also on Pizzazz TV, based out of England. We're also on KCHF TV out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and every Saturday night at 8 o'clock and 12 midnight, you can see the Maurice Brown Show, and more specifically, the Maurice Brown Show Breaking Down the Four Walls. And as I mentioned to Travis a moment or two ago, you can also hear the Maurice Brown Show on Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, Audible, and Radio Public. Anchor as well. So we're all over the place. By the time all that's done, Travis, you'll be a star then, my friend, no question. So those are the ways that you can see this interview, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we're talking with Travis Smothers, and check him out once again on County Line All In. And before we get out of here, how can fans, or what platform, Travis, can fans see County Line?
I believe County Line is streaming on Tubi right now, on Roku channel Tubi.
Okay.
I think that, and I believe Amazon, but I know for sure it's on Tubi. So
check it out. Go to Tubi, and you go to Tubi, you can watch it for free. You'll have to watch a few commercials. Who cares? You'll see a quality movie for free, and believe me, County Line is definitely one that you're definitely going to want to see. Once again, Travis Smothers, actor on the Maurice Brown Show. Travis, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting, and may the peace of Christ be with you and your family. God bless you.
Thanks, man. God bless you.